So today we will be talking about achieving high performance with gratitude and mindfulness with none other than the godfather of gratitude, Erwin Benedict Valencia. So excited to have you. Erwin created the first ever mindfulness program in the history of the NBA during his 10 years there, where he was the director of training and conditioning.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and have this chat with you and see where it takes us.
I mean, before we dive into our conversation, I'd love you to elaborate on like what is your definition of mindfulness for anyone who might not know?
Hmm. That's always an interesting question because there's a lot of definitions of what mindfulness can be, but in plain and simple, it's the ability to be completely present in the moment. That's what I define it as. It's a state of being for which you are in the now, and I think that's sometimes not as easily achievable as people think it could be.
Sure isn't. Yeah, it can be really difficult. And since you're coined the godfather of gratitude, can you tell us also a little bit about what gratitude means to you?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, there's a little story about the godfather of gratitude because I am a godfather to many kids for some strange reason. Everyone thinks that I'd be the perfect candidate just in case anything happens to their family, and then I would take care of the kids because I do love kids and kids love me. So I think I've been appointed a godfather of many of my friends and family's kids. But what I really am is really an older brother. And in Filipino terms, that word is kuya. Kuya is also an Arabic term to say older brother. And that is part of our Filipino language and culture. And it's the interesting thing about that is the fact that, it wouldn't really actually sound well if you said the older brother of gratitude. So so then somebody just goes, then just make yourself the godfather. It's me being a mentor, and I think that's what it is. It's like I'm a mentor to a lot of people, so a lot of people find me the perfect godfather for their kids, but also a lot of people have found me as a mentor, as like their older brother. And so just being able to put that next to the word gratitude was something that somebody came up with. They just said they just put those two together. I was like, okay, cool. Back to your question. Gratitude for me is the really, just like mindfulness, it's the state of being in which you feel a true sense of thankfulness. It is a feeling, it is a lifestyle, it is not just a positive emotion, which is academically defined as, but rather I would have to argue it's a way of being. And and so for me, being in the state of gratitude allows me to live a life where my well-being scores academically are up at the highest level, but also it allows me to just live a more flourishing and thriving life.
I love that. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about really like why you created a mindfulness program for the MBA and then how you went about doing so.
Well, it's been a journey. I think the interesting thing about creating something in professional sport is that the adaptation is not always quickly. I've been a meditation and mindfulness practitioner for probably almost 40 years. I started meditation as a 7-year-old learning martial arts. But even prior to that, already understood and was aware of these times for which warriors like the samurai, like the ninjas, and like the Shaolin monks, they would always find time for stillness. They would be quiet. They would sit down and close their eyes. And I didn't even know what that was defined as gratitude. But my father had a lot of books in his library about Shaolin monks, about the code of Bushido and the samurai, and about the ninja warriors and stuff. And so for me, I was always fascinated about the dichotomy of a warrior and number one, his ability to find stillness and calmness in each of his days, but also simultaneously be able to change that mode and be violent. And so that's always been something that's been fascinating by my journey. That said, you know, years down the line when I finally was blessed to uh, be in the NBA and living my dream life in my dream job. It was something that I felt like I could gift or give as part of a value that I could bring to not only the players I work with, not only the organization that I was for, but also to the league. And so, initially my first year was a year of just learning and seeing how the ropes were. My second year, when I was officially appointed as the director of training conditioning by Phil Jackson, it made me then say this was my dream to be able to then work with him, and he's the Zen master. And so, okay, hey, I said, Phil, do you think we can add or bring some meditation and mindfulness practices to the players? And he said that was a great idea. And initially, he started leading it, and he would lead it at odd times, and a lot of players weren't really all about it, because he would do it right after practice when they were sweaty, and they would have to bring them into a room, and they would get cold, and there was a whole situation that, and I said, well, maybe a way for these athletes to maybe even begin the awareness of meditation and mindfulness is maybe using a tool that they use on a daily basis, which is their mobile phones. And so I got connected and contacted a guy named Rich Pearson and Andy Puttycombe. Those two guys, they were the founders of Headspace. And so Andy and I had a long talk, and we said, hey, can I use this Headspace as a means to bring an understanding of what mindfulness could do for you to our players? Plus, we'd always love for you to come and give some of these meditations live, so that the players can actually understand who you are, and you're not just a voice on the computer on the app, but actually a real person. And Andy was a monk for 10 years. He was a monk for 10 years, went back. He actually had a sports exercise science background. And he came back to London, and when he was trying to find a job, he couldn't really find a job because he was a monk for 10 years. So his life was kind of different now, but he stuck to it. He created these events, and they found a way to really bring these events at scale by recording these meditations initially in a thumb drive. But then they started losing so much money because they were buying everybody thumb drives, and then they moved to like CDs, and then eventually the app came back, and the app came on, and hence the reason why Headspace, which was the first ever meditation mindfulness app ever created, that's how it started. And so we began using Headspace as part of a recovery program. We had a pretty robust recovery program with the Knicks, and what we did is we added that almost like as a game, in game theory wise, we made players, as they were trying to get the recovery, include this mental recovery by the use of Headspace and meditating. And although the attrition rate went down pretty fast, the fact that we had maybe 2 or 3 that continued on towards the end of the season, I think for me was a win, because it was the first time for them to really use the app. And the learning curve wasn't necessarily that difficult, but you still had to put effort. At that time, you needed a code, you needed to put like a CD in and a code and all that stuff. And, at the time, technology, like, people just wanted to get it. They wanted on their phones right away. And what happened was, Phil was let go at some point in time. And I thought I was going to also be let go because I was connected to Phil. And what happened was I decided to stay one more year and see if this is someplace I still want to be or move somewhere different. And Coach Fizz, who was formerly the assistant coach of the Miami Heat, became head coach of Memphis. We ended up hiring him with the Knicks. And ironically, the year before that, him and I were together at a Tony Robbins event. And so when he got the job, I was like, wait a minute, I think I was with him at Tony Robbins event. And I walked to his office and I was like, hey, coach. He was like, yo, what's up? And his wife looked at me and said, like, honey, how do we know him, this guy again? I was like, oh, we were Tony Robbins together. She goes, oh my God, what are the thoughts of us being the same roof? And I said, yo, coach, are we bringing Tony over here? Are we bringing Wim Hof over here? We're bringing Dave Asprey over here. All of that, brother, all of that. And he said, and I want you to lead all of that, to bring that to our culture. And so, and that in a sense was the moment where I felt I was given carte blanche to begin and start anything. And at that time, there really wasn't anything such as a wellness program or mindfulness program in the entire NBA that was done every day. And so every day we basically we did some breath work. I did a little mini TED talk. I would talk about a proverb or parable, and then relate it back to my mantra for the day. And then it got to the point that we were doing these things before games. We were doing these breath work, these meditations, grounding, or this upregulating, whether before games, whether before practice, even mid practice, like if just the guys to remind guys to take a breath. And that went on for a whole season. And we even profiled it when we were in London. I think we played in London for an exhibition game, and all the media watched us do this meditation as a team together. We didn't have management, and all the coaches come with us too. So, and for about a year and a half, it's something that we did. We even integrated like crowd noise just so that the guys can get used to what it feels like with the crowd.
Wow.
And that was definitely something that was groundbreaking, but we really couldn't talk about it too much because, in the end, people want to see results. Does this lead to winning? But as we all know, anything that is organic, anything that is sometimes good for you, is not a magic bullet. You can't solve a problem like winning games in a day or even a year. It takes decades sometimes. It takes more than that. It's about instilling it as a habit, and not just for one athlete, but really the whole team. So, I always say that my job wasn't to be the person that would need to be there to educate them on a daily basis, but my goal was always to be some sort of guide, Sherpa, teacher, where as teachers, our main goal and task really is to plant seeds. It's not our responsibility to pull the plant up to make it grow. We have to let it grow on its own. And so that's probably one of the biggest insights I've learned when we created a program and rolled it out. And, but then meanwhile, not everyone stuck to it, and so it was one of those biggest lessons that as a teacher, you just say, hey, we're just here to be your guides. We can't make you grow. We can't pull you to grow. You have to grow on your own, and you're going to go through this. And as you go ups and downs, you will find value in this. And when it does, you'll be reminded of how important these sessions were early in your career.
Wow. I mean, it's pretty remarkable to hear the origins now, because even knowing, LeBron is huge with the Calm app now, and to see how it's grown, it's pretty remarkable that you were part of the initial movement.
Yeah, it was definitely it was something I've been doing since I was 7. So I said, and I think the biggest thing with working with professional athletes is they have to trust you, and they can spot inauthenticity right away. So for me, I wasn't just telling them to meditate. I was a meditator. I was a meditator for 30 years. So at that time, I practiced what I preached. I embodied what it meant to be a meditator. I embodied what it meant to be a good person. I embodied somebody that had a growth mindset.
Do you feel that the athletes started to really see the benefits from it, or did it take a while?
It took a while. I mean, it took almost an entire season afterwards for one of our star athletes to find value in it, when after having a good year, the following year wasn't too good. And then he realized what was missing, and it was having a daily practice. And then in the following year, I was asked to help support that for him. And he had an amazing year.
Wow, that's awesome. And now I feel like it's really spread to, most teams in the NBA, right, are probably implementing a mindfulness program of some kind, would you say?
Some kind. I mean, I don't think everyone is still, because of who's leading it. I mean, like I said, you have to have the trust of the athletes. If you're the person and you come out and try to preach that you're some sort of shaman, some sort of, I know, yogi or whatever, and then that's not really who you are. I mean, players were like, why am I listening to this person?
1,000%. Any favorite memories from that time?
It's always been the funny memories of athletes sending me a text message of maybe their iWatch saying that they need to stop and breathe. And you'd be like, hey, yo, I just want to let you know, I breathed, I took a breath today. Or B, they're like, or B, they they would introduce me to the significant others as like, oh, that's my breathing coach right there. That's my breathing coach. It's like, it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Or they would send me, um, they would send me pictures of them trying to do, to sit in stillness, or have their kids sit in stillness with them. And so I think that's, for me, some of the funniest memories that I will always, take with me.
Mm.
It's the
Yeah.
effect for those who found value in the teachings that I brought.
As you said, this was like the dream job, right? And probably would be a dream job for many. And then you decided to take a sabbatical. I remember when we met, you were explaining to me the grateful journey and really how you're documenting the journey. Can you share a little bit about the intention that you have for this journey that you're on, like what you've been up to and how it felt to leave this dream job?
It's a great question, because I took a cue from Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love, but
Mm,
also making it on brand to who I am, which is through gratitude. And so for me, it's about, okay, asking myself, what are the things that I haven't done yet that I need to do now, that while I'm still of sound mind and body? And I think it's important for a lot of people as they're going through their life and their careers, so that they don't get burnt out, is to actually take
mm,
some actual time off, especially during a transition phase of their life, where they're about to get married, or looking to start a family, or about to buy a new house, or about even changing careers to something that they're passionate about that isn't necessarily one that brings them a lot of money. And I think for me, and for a number of others now that I've gone to meet along the road, weirdly enough, um, it's really about discovering what it is you want for that next step of your life. I think it's interesting that I've found myself going through this almost every, obviously, 9-ish years. Like, it is true. Is it the 7-year itch or the 8-year itch or something like that?
mm.
It's one of those that, and
Yeah.
that really happens um, when it really
Yeah.
happens when you're going through a part of your career and you're just going, and then you have to like reassess. And most people who don't take the time to reassess will just continue going until they start having resentment in their hearts. I never want to be part of an organization or work somewhere, or work in general, where I have resentment in my heart. Then it's not really being true to who I am and the passion that I try to bring to something that I really enjoy doing. So it's important to really take time off and step back and look at the macro of things. And as you look at your life and different seasons of your life, each season is very special and it's very different, it's very unique. So it's about making sure that you're very intentional as you go through these seasons, and asking yourself, what am I learning in each season of my life?
Mm,
And so I think that's where this period of time for me is occurring, this grateful journey, so to speak, this 1-year sabbatical that I'm taking,
mm,
which most people will say, it's usually going to last for 6 months or 9 months. I even have a friend that said, hey, after 3 months, you're going to start itching. I mean, I didn't really itch too much in 3 months, but I'm hitting my 6-month mark, and yes, I'm itching now. It's really weird,
mm.
and that happens because I'm a doer, I'm a builder,
Yeah.
I'm a creator, and so deep inside, that itch is that desire to try to build something that's amazing, or do something that's amazing. It's not just literally going on holidays, sitting in the beach, and thinking this is
Yeah.
what life is like. No, it's like if I'm at the beach and I see like, oh man, I've always wanted to be a better surfer, then I'm going to go
Yeah.
surfing because I'm in the beach. I'm
Yeah.
not going to just sit there and lie down, you know,
Yeah. Is that
or
how you're
or
spending your
learning a new
days?
skill. Yeah, spending your
The
days,
things
and
you want
and
to
for
do?
and most of what I want to do isn't just like visiting places like in the Philippines, but it's
Mm,
it's actually finding ways to contribute back to the society and back to my homeland. It's
mm,
helping create the mental health coalition of a small island where I spend most of my time in the Philippines. It's about making sure I create spaces for high school kids to talk about their hopes and dreams.
mm,
It's about going to the kitchen at 6 o'clock in the morning and helping the ladies cook food, cook nutritious food for the kids in the elementary schools that we support through our foundation, Gratitude Gang. And so
mm,
I think it's really, it's about understanding what really is your purpose in life and your mission in life, and trying to build it out so that then if, let's say, something fascinating occurs where now I find myself back in what I call the matrix, at least I've
Yeah.
established that. At
The
least
matrix.
my nonprofits are like sorted out, and then all I have to do is now use the connections that I'm making as I'm back in the matrix to help fundraise, basically,
Mm.
and to
So you're
scale.
really spending one full year doing what fills your heart and what you enjoy
Yeah.
and giving
And then
back.
and then I, and then I'll make that decision at the end whether or not this is the life I truly want to live full time,
Mm.
or do I still want this as my passion project as I continue to build out my another part of my career, and then maybe doing something different.
I was going to ask, any plans to return to sports, or are we letting it all unfold?
I'm letting it all unfold. I've been, I've been away from it for quite a minute, a couple of months, so to speak. And even when I left the Knicks, I came to the Philippines, and the World Cup of basketball was occurring, and so I was still active and all of that, and I'm still active when I'm in the Philippines because I'm being tapped by a number of pro basketball teams in the Philippines, by the Philippine Sports Commission, where I'm a consultant for their high performance department, and
Mm-hmm.
and and as I've returned back to the US, and within 3 days, I'm getting phone calls about conversations that people would like to have with me about going back to sport,
Yeah.
and maybe different kinds of sport now. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting time where you feel like you've done a lot in your life when people just call you.
Yeah. The opportunities just flow in. Can
Hmm.
you tell us a little bit about Gratitude Gang and the Grasshoppers Project?
Yeah, Gratitude Gang Grasshopper Project is my two passion projects. There's my two
Mm.
reasons for being. They're my two nonprofits. They're both 501c3s.
Mm.
Grasshopper Project was first on to come out because we got Grasshopper Project officially as a 501c3 in 2018. Prior to that, it was an initiative that came alongside one of my companies that I started in 2013 called Kinetic, which was a grassroots and innovative educational company um, that brought education to places around the world with no really access to it. And what happened is that I realized as I was building that the education platform and all that stuff was something that actually my co-founder, who was a mentee of mine, really loved, and I really loved the mentorship part. So at some point in time, I think really officially in 2020, I said, you can have the kinetic part, the education portion. I'm just going to keep the charity stuff. And so 2018 we officially made it a charity, and it's really about mentorship. It's about bringing mentorship to people who want to be in the health, wellness, and
Mm.
performance industry. Like, let's say if you want to one day work as a physiotherapist for an English Premier League team, then I'll hook you up with a mentor who currently works in one, and you can find. I think as a kid, you can find somebody who you can rely on to help you make
Mm.
some of the difficult choices, even with regards to school that you like to make.
Okay.
It's based on an 8-week program curriculum that I created, and that I recorded. And then there's parts where I'm involved, but then there's parts where the two mentor mentee actually get together. And that's a global situation. We had our first ever GP summit last year in New York.
Mm.
We'll have the second GP summit in New York again in August 18th, 2024. We will bring in 3 speakers and we'll do it like very podcast style, so that
Mm.
if there's questions from some of the kids and stuff, about the direction they could go in life, we have different genres, like, whether it's a personal trainer that has a big personal brand following,
Mm.
whether it's somebody that works as a health athletic trainer for an NBA team, whether it's a nutritionist, whether it's somebody that works in the dance and entertainment medicine world.
Mm.
We want to make it fascinating, so it's not just talks that they hear over and over again.
Yeah.
Number two, Gratitude Gang is, I think, currently the one that I've really been passionate about. It was officially a 501c3 in 2022. we initially started as a community on Clubhouse. I was an early adopter and a very
Okay.
active participant of Clubhouse, which was
Mm.
released in May 2020, March 2020, and then the pandemic happened. The perfect timing. It blew up. The valuation of the company blew up and everything. And I was an early adopter. I think I was in by late August, early September. And I built two communities. One was the Bahay Kubo community, which is a Filipino community. It became the largest Filipino community on the platform. We had almost 10,000 people in there from all over the world. And then we built a Gratitude Gang, which was just a means for people to share what they're grateful for and why with people around the world on a daily basis. And that club and community grew to almost 50,000 people.
Wow.
And what happened is that there was a massive typhoon that occurred in the Philippines in December of 2021. And at that time, digital assets, crypto, NFTs were skyrocketing. And so one moment in time, I said, I don't want to just do a GoFundMe page to help buy sardines, rice, and ramen noodles for people who are going through these struggles in the Philippines. How can I make my change or my contribution something that will last? And I said, okay, well, what's the one thing that's missing for the kids is their schools. The typhoon, and right before Christmas, blew away their schools. So my goal was then to create a digital asset that would then become, in essence, a fundraiser to rebuild these schools and allow kids to go back to school. And I asked, one of my mentors, one of my life advisors, Gary Vanderchuck, or also known as Gary V, to say, hey, GV, what do you think about this idea? I want to create an NFT and basically employ Filipino artists to create these NFTs to help rebuild schools in the Philippines. He goes, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go an actual phone call, a business call, and let's do it. Let's launch it fast while the iron's still hot. And I was like, so yeah, within the week, I found myself with a team in the Philippines and an artist, and
Wow.
we started like putting it together. We really peaked like around February. Our Discord was about 10,000 people. Our Twitter was blowing up. And then as we launched on February 22nd, which was 12/22/21, the Ukraine war happened on the 23rd. And so everything that we built came crashing down because people didn't really see the value in trying to help rebuild schools for kids in the Philippines when there's a war that's happening right in front of us. And so it really created a massive challenge of where crypto was and where NFTs were. And then crypto winter happened right after that. And it really brought everything down. And so I think in the midst of that, as I was going through my own personal mental health issues, because of the fact I was struggling with all these expectations, we pivoted. And I said, you know what? How would I continue to serve the people that I serve back in the Philippines, but also serve the people that put their faith in me trying to create something? And so I put in for the application to make it a nonprofit. And by early January, I think, or early 2022, we became officially a nonprofit for Gratitude Gang. And so now Gratitude Gang has completely rebranded. We've kind of stepped away from the digital asset and crypto and Web3 space. It merely is a source of funding, but it's not the ethos of who we are. I think we are a community of givers that use the sense of positivity and gratitude to affect change for kids, particularly in the Philippines, through mental health initiatives that we collaborate with, and then we end up collaborating with feeding programs, local community partners that do feeding programs, so that hand in hand, we found that malnutrition and mental health go hand in hand. And so we found a way to really use that as our battle cry that, okay, let's feed the kids, but let's teach them how to take care of themselves too. And so that's what Gratitude Gang is and has become. We've completely revamped, remodeled the website, and it's now really this movement the website's so pretty, and it gives true testament to the kids that we're trying to serve back home in an island in the Philippines.
That's amazing. I mean, I feel like everyone's goal in life, or a lot of people's goal, is to like make their mark on the world and give back. And it sounds like you're doing that. So,
Yeah.
That's an amazing journey, and I'm excited to see what you do from here. And thank you for your service to the world. I mean, it's
It
really amazing.
is
Yeah,
my absolute pleasure.
yeah. And I know, so you and I have talked about your mentorship. You know, as you mentioned, you have been a mentor to, I mean, arguably like thousands of people, right? During your
Yeah.
time in the MBA and then everywhere outside of that and all of these children. And so, what are the plans for mentorship in the future? Anything you have on the horizon?
Yeah.
Working with
I mean,
you one on one?
I have there's a couple of options. I'm about to launch um, I'm about to launch an 8 week very, I think, intimate, this is the right word, intimate group coaching program. I think particularly for men, um, where, high performers particularly. So it's a high performance coaching program. I'm calling it my first five, just like a
Hmm.
basketball pun,
Love
first
that.
five.
Yeah.
And it basically is to support high performing athletes, artists, CEOs, entrepreneurs
Hmm.
that are maybe going through some transitional times and need support in order to either A, continue to stay on top, or B, get back to the top. With gratitude, obviously, as our anchor and as our main ingredient, so to speak.
Hmm.
And the reason why I put that there is because it will, some of the research that I've been doing for a number of years now has shown that the power of gratitude is something that not everyone has really harnessed completely as part of their daily life. And if by putting this group coaching or mentorship program together with gratitude as the anchor for this, it allows for people to really take a step back and really live a life that's a little more purposeful. And so I have that's coming up at the beginning of June. I have one-on-ones that I take only a very minimal amount of number ones. I currently have like one or two only, and I don't want to get in more than five through my days because I want to make sure that I give equal opportunity to people and give ample time for those that I support. And yeah, my one-on-ones, my one-on-one mentorship program is, would last about 3 months because I truly want to see a change that's going on. And if you're in transition, it helps you really get into the nuts and bolts of what it is that you really want to achieve in life. Is it legacy? Is it building something? Is it investing in something? Is it investing in people or investing in money, investing in real estate? Well, what is it really that you want? Is it just to see your kids finish school? Like, I think a lot of times, if people don't really understand or have no clarity with really what it is that they want to do in life or know what they're in this earth for, then it's harder for them to know why they're doing things every day. And so I'm hoping that through one of my two programs, either the first five, or B, my one-on-one, it allows for anyone. The one-on-ones are going to be open to both men and women. The group, I'm going to just isolate that first to a men's coaching group because I think there's a need today for a lot of men to really tap into their empathy and to really find themselves. There's I think way too many men's groups that are very supercharged with testosterone nowadays.
Like alpha,
So
like Andrew Tate, like
so I'm not that
yeah.
guy. I'm more of the quiet warrior, and where, if you need to come out and go fire, that's how that in the end our group coaching programs will have some sort of retreat where it balances out the you know the fun, the competitiveness, but also the stillness and the empathy. And hence the reason why, like, one of my biggest goals is, as we create a number, when we get to maybe 2 or 3 groups at the end of the year, we put a retreat together in the Philippines. And so there's going to be surfing, there's going to be wakeboarding, all that stuff, but also there'll be giving back to the kids.
It's amazing. Yeah, you see a lot of these I see a lot of these like alpha men groups, but this new emerging space of men leading from the heart, empathy with compassion. I mean, coupling that together, I feel is a really beautiful, beautiful space to be in. So thank you for creating that container for men and women. And thank you for this conversation. It's super inspirational. And I think you will inspire a lot of people. And for more information, people can reach you on your Instagram, which is right there at Erwin
Yep. That's
V
all my stuff.
Valencia.
That's my Instagram. That's my Twitter. That's my LinkedIn. The only thing that it's not, it's my Facebook, which is really interesting. I think I planned it wrongly in the past. So it's my
Yeah.
YouTube. It's everything. Yeah. So you just find me on that. That's the easiest thing to find me on. Just one
Mm,
handle for everything. Or you can email
awesome.
me at erwin@erwinvalencia.com.
Amazing. And obviously, for all modalities, for more information on modalities and all things wellness and well-being, at your Conscious Concierge to see what your options are. Thank you so much, Erwin.
My pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.